Well, hello, everyone, and welcome. Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us today. My name is Genevieve Kirk, and I'm the Center for Nonprofit Excellence Director here at the Community Foundation of East Central Illinois. And we're going to get our nonprofit capacity building grants information session started right now. Thank you all for joining. If you haven't yet had a chance to introduce yourself to the group via the chat, feel free to do that, listing your name and organization name. Just a couple of housekeeping notes as we start this virtual session. Just a friendly reminder to please keep your microphone on mute throughout today's session. We will be offering a dedicated question and answer time following our walkthrough of the grant guidelines, and we'll invite you to raise your hand at that time to voice your question, or you're welcome to type your question into the chat if you would prefer. And last, we just wanted to give a friendly reminder that we are recording today's session for the benefit of those participants who are not able to join us for this live session. So here is our brief agenda for today. We'll walk you through just some staff introductions of myself and our team here at the Community Foundation so that you can get to know each of us. We're then going to walk through capacity building grant guidelines. So looking at the purpose, eligibility, we'll give you some examples and also previous examples from the last time we offered this session back in 2022, looking at evaluation criteria, and then a timeline and next steps for this grant cycle submission. And then again, we'll offer some time for questions and answers at the end of today's session. My guess is that we're going to take about 30 minutes or so if you're checking the time for how long this is going to take, but we have allocated up to 45 minutes if we extend a bit for questions. If you have a specific question that's just for really you and you'd like to ask it offline, you're welcome to contact us here at the Community Foundation. We'd be happy to chat with you by phone or by email about anything that's specific to your situation. And now I'd like to introduce our team, our small but mighty staff here at the Community Foundation. So I'll go first and then I'll pass it over to my colleagues. So again, my name is Genevieve Kirk. I serve as the Center for Nonprofit Excellence Director here at the Community Foundation. I started here almost 3 years ago, back in August of 2021, and my work is to expand and enhance the offerings of our Center for Nonprofit Excellence. So that includes our Executive Director Leadership Network for local nonprofit leaders. We do board governance trainings through our Board Bootcamp series. We also offer some fundraising trainings and workshops for development professionals and local nonprofits that want to learn how to build endowments and run capital campaigns. This is the second time we've offered this capacity building grant cycle, and it is near and dear to my heart because having been a former nonprofit executive director, I know how challenging it can be to find investment into the systems and operations that are really going to make a difference in improving your efficiency. So I hope that today's session is helpful, and I'm excited that our board has approved this round of funding again for this year. And now I will pass the baton over to my colleague. Let's go with Allison and then Kristen.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Allison Winter. I'm the president and CEO of the Community Foundation of East Central Illinois. In my role, I get to help fundraise for endowments and help folks set up their donor advised funds. My role here really is to help our community members support the communities in which they live and do so in perpetuity. So whatever that looks like for them, from their personal assets, thinking through their wealth planning and estate planning, their tax vehicles that can be helpful, and also with our nonprofits, helping them to manage their funds. If they choose to set up an endowment here or a donor advised fund here, we can help with fiscal agency as our new nonprofit partners are getting their 501c3s. We are the hub of philanthropy for our 9-county service area, and we are here to help make your lives easier, executive director. So I'm really excited. I have only been in this role for 4 months. I came to us from the University of Illinois, where I was a frontline fundraiser there. And this is so exciting, my first round of capacity building grants. Take it away, Kristen.
Sure. My name is Kristen Dusdeker, and I've been here at Community Foundation for a little over 10 years. Previously, I actually worked for the Community Foundation of Southern Wisconsin in Janesville. I was there for 8 years in the same role. I'm in charge of all the grants and scholarships. I'll be the person you contact if you have any questions regarding the portal to fill out the application, any technical questions, and we're here to help in any way we can. Thanks.
Thank you, Kristen and Allison. I'm so lucky to work with such great colleagues here at the Community Foundation. And now I'm going to be the talking head for the next few slides, just walking you through our grant guidelines. So I wanted to give you a good understanding when we're talking about capacity building, what do we actually mean by that? So first, a little bit of history. Several years ago, the Community Foundation offered mini grants for capacity building. Those were up to $1,500, and they were more to send your executive director to a conference or a training. And those micro grants kind of went away after a while, but came back in this larger form of capacity building grants of up to $5,000. Back in 2022, when we launched our first nonprofit capacity building grant cycle. And that was in celebration of the Community Foundation's 50th anniversary. We awarded just over $50,000 to 13 different nonprofit organizations within our service area. The new grant cycle was informed by a nonprofit needs assessment that was completed by a number of local nonprofits, and they identified their different capacity building and technical assistance needs. So what we heard from those nonprofits is they really needed help with resource development and also with human resources. So those were their top major challenges, and our Board of Trustees approved that initial round of funding to respond to that need. We believe strongly that allowing you to focus your efforts on these different operational improvements will allow you to increase your capacity and overall efficiency, helping you to better achieve your mission work. So I am excited that we're able to offer this session again. Our board reviewed the 2022 grant evaluation of all of the different grants that were completed, and they learned that the grant recipients used the funds as intended, which we are always happy to hear about, and also that they were appreciative of the funding from the last cycle. So just last month, they approved the second round of this funding, which will require a 10% matching contribution from you if you apply for one of these grants. So what do we mean by capacity building? Well, the definition is coming that I'm going to be presenting to you here is coming from the Council of Nonprofits, which is a national council that has some great resources. I'd encourage you to check out their website. They define capacity building as whatever is needed to bring a nonprofit to the next level of operational, programmatic, financial, or organizational maturity, so it may more effectively and efficiently advance its mission into the future. Capacity building is not a one-time effort to improve short-term effectiveness, but a continuous improvement strategy toward the creation of a sustainable and effective organization. So this is improvements that are going to impact your organization for a long term is what we're looking for in capacity building initiatives. So the purpose of this grant program is focusing on projects that improve the capacity of your organizations in an identified area of organizational operations. So this is not an exhaustive list, but this includes things like your marketing and communications, can include your data management. So that could be like implementing or evaluating a new CRM or migrating data into a new CRM. Efforts to improve your organization's diversity, equity, and inclusion among your board or among your staff or in programs for your clients. Financial management, fundraising, governance, human resources, I get questions on that a lot, leadership and leadership development. So that could be executive coaching for a newer executive director, mission and strategy. That could include things like you need to hire someone, an outside facilitator, to do strategic planning for your organization, program delivery, program evaluation. So this is giving you some ideas of the intent of this grant cycle. As far as eligibility, in order to apply for one of these capacity building grants, you must be a charitable, tax-exempt 501c3. And we need to see, this is our committee that came up with these criteria, but no less than 2 years of operation. So we don't want to see a brand new startup, but we are looking for organizations that can show a track record of 2 years of operation or more. And we will determine that based off of when the IRS date of incorporation is what we're going by for that. Priority will be given in funding consideration for smaller organizations with annual budget sizes of $1 million or less. And the nonprofits that apply must be located in and serving residents of the Community Foundation service area, which includes Champaign, Piatt, Ford, Iroquois, Vermilion, Edgar, Douglas, Coles, and Moultrie counties. And I would like to share here that we would really love to see applications from some of our outlying counties. We have a lot of love right here in Champaign County, and our Board of Trustees in doing some strategic planning this year is really wanting to enhance our services in some of our surrounding counties. So if your ears are perking up with that, Piatt County, Vermilion County, Ford, Iroquois, Douglas, Coles, we encourage you to submit an application for this grant cycle. Okay, so eligible activities. Applications must be for one of the following eligible capacity building activities. So things like board training and education, staff training and leadership development, strategic planning, succession planning. That would be if you're anticipating an executive director who's been there for a while and will be likely retiring or leaving their post within the near future. So planning for that. Technology consultation, software improvements, or, and this is where there's a lot of depth and breadth here, other assessments. So it could be consulting, one-on-one coaching, or facilitation that improves an identified area of organizational capacity. So all this to say, it's pretty broad. I do want to let you know that if you're thinking, if you looked at the IT or technology, we are more interested, and when I say we, the grant committee would be more interested in looking at projects that are about improvements or consultation to your overall technology. This grant activity would not be, for example, to fund buying a bunch of new laptops or buying desktops for your computer, for your offices. If that's something that you're interested in, I encourage you to wait for this grant cycle until our next cycle will open in August, and that is our community commitment grants, which are for durable goods. So I just want to repeat that computers or technology like actual hardware would not be an eligible expenditure under this grant. Save that for the community commitment grant application in August. But if you're looking at consultation or CRM data work, that would be an eligible activity. And if you have questions, we will get to that here in just a sec. So some examples of capacity building projects, leadership development. This would be a project that supports a leadership training experience for 2 or more members of the organization's leadership or management team. So investing in personnel, knowing that that's going to have a long-term impact on the organization and the organization's growth. Planning activities. So this could be an organizational assessment, strategic planning, fund development, communications, marketing, or business planning. In 2022, there was an organization that was funded to have a business plan done for the organization. There were a couple, at least, that received funding for communications and marketing strategy work. And we did have a couple that were funded for consultation for fund development. So working with a consultant who assisted that organization in their different fundraising strategies, again, increasing their capacity for the long run. Board development, these can be activities like leadership training, executive coaching, defining the role of the board, strengthening governance overall. And then internal operations. So this would be improvements to financial management, human resources, or volunteer management. And then again, to just hone in on the technology, IT capacity that includes upgrades to hardware and software, networking, websites, staff training. Again, not purchasing new equipment, but more the consultation behind it. Oh, I did want to mention, if you would like to see the list of the projects that were funded in the last cycle, that is available on our website. If you click on grant opportunities, scroll down and you'll see the link to the 2022 grant recipients for nonprofit capacity building. That'll just give you some ideas of what was funded last time. And then looking at evaluation criteria. So assuming you submit an application, what will the committee be looking at when they're determining how to give priority to the projects that are funded? Well, the first criteria has to do with mission. They'll be asking, is the organization's mission and programming valuable in raising the quality of life in the East Central Illinois community? That dovetails into our mission statement here at the Community Foundation. So that's primary, is the mission doing that? Secondly, impact. Does the organization clearly identify one area of organizational capacity that the project will improve the organization's ability to fulfill its mission? So being very clear, identifying one of those areas and then showing how are you going to do it. Next will be readiness. Does the organization demonstrate that this is a good time for them to undertake the project and show that it has a strong commitment, not just from the person applying, but we want to see that from staff, leadership, board members, and other stakeholders to assist with the project. And then finally, project plan. Is the capacity building project plan clear, achievable? Does it have specific measurable goals? So those are the 4 criteria that the committee will be looking at when they rank applications for this grant cycle. Grant amounts for this cycle, applicants can request up to $5,000. So that's going to be the ceiling for those grants. And this will require a 10% matching contribution from the applicant organization. So say your total grant that you're applying for is $5,000. 10% of that is $500 that we would want to see as a matching contribution that your organization is putting towards this project as well. Another example, if you're applying for a grant for $4,500, that your match would be $450. So I hope that makes sense. And then in terms of the total pool of funds that we have to award for this grant cycle, that total amount is $50,000. Now into timelines. So the application is already live and open, and you can look at it on the website. It opened on May 1st. Application will close on May the 31st at 11:59 p.m. So be sure to get it in before that time. Applicants will be notified of their status by the end of June. And then these capacity building projects start quick. So July 1st of 2024. So quick turnaround on this. Projects must be completed within 12 months. So that will be by June the 30th of 2025. And there will be a short report required at the end of that project cycle. So in terms of next steps, again, there's the date and time that the application is due. You will log in, you can click on that link, which I'll send out this slide deck following today's session so that you can click there. It's also available through the website. If you don't yet have a login to access our grant portal, my colleague Kristen can help get you set up with that login. You'll contact her to get that set up. For those of you who have questions about, oh, well, who could I use as a facilitator, or who even does consultation or coaching in this area, if that's the route that you're thinking for your grant, we have a short list of local nonprofit capacity building consultants and coaches that we've just added to over the last couple of years. I will send that list out to you as well. The Community Foundation doesn't make specific recommendations, but we can tell you what is the specialty area for different individuals and firms that are working on things like strategic planning, facilitation, accounting, fundraising, consulting, things like that. And then you would be welcome to make contact with those individuals and firms to determine if that is something that you'd be interested in applying for a grant for. So with that, now is our time for questions and answers. And I've listed staff emails here so that you can follow up with any of us. Allison, our president and CEO, would be happy to hear from you. I'd be happy if you have any specific questions, and certainly technical matters should go to Kristen. But why don't we go ahead, and I'd love to hear your questions. You are welcome to submit them in the chat, or I invite you at this time, just go ahead and unmute and we will take your questions that way. So just checking in, does anyone have any questions they'd like to voice? Again, this will help others on the call. I don't want to discourage any, particular questions. You will inform others on the call with your question. Does this make sense? Are there things that you need clarity on? That's what we're here for, and we want to use this time to answer your questions.
Hey, Genevieve. Thanks for the presentation. Sorry, I wasn't on mute. I didn't mean to be off earlier, but question in regards to over $1 million budgets. Like what's the approval rating in previous grant cycles, if that's the case? Do you have an idea on that?
That is a good question. Thank you, Chad, for asking that. Well, we only have for history one other time that we offered this particular grant cycle. I do believe, actually, there may have been one or two that were near that threshold of $1 million that, and you can look at the list. You'll probably have a benchmark off the top of your head. I believe there might have been a couple that were over the $1 million annual operating budget size, but still were able to be funded by this grant cycle. So all that to say that that does not disqualify you from submitting an application. I would say go ahead and submit one. Priority still would be given to smaller organizations, but I do believe that there were at least one or two with a larger budget size that were funded last time. Does that help? Okay, great. So I'm just going to go through these questions I'm seeing in the chat. Can the grants cover multiple areas? For example, planning and fundraising. I would say they can, as long as it makes sense, would be the caveat there. Does the planning and the fundraising go together? I think the other question would be, can you achieve both with a grant that's up to 5,000. You'll probably want to check in with the rates on some of the consultants and coaches to see rates can be higher than you would expect. But if you can find one that can do both for you, under that meets the criteria here for funding, I would say yes, as long as it makes sense. And again, Allison, Kristen, feel free, chime in if you'd like to add to what I'm saying. Or clarify. Okay. Okay, and I'm seeing a question from a larger organization regarding, again, the 1 million agency budget. Do we want to see the region location budget, example for Vermilion County, or total agency budget? That, again, will be kind of a judgment call by the committee. I would say submit both, and they will take that into consideration. Yeah, there can be some flexibility leeway there. Again, you're not disqualified by having over $1 million in your annual operating budget. But I think that if the program service is specifically for Vermilion County, I would encourage you to show that budget. I think that would be helpful for the committee to see.
I have a
Questions?
question about supporting new staff. We have a lot of new grants that we need a grants manager for. So can the funds be used to support staff, new positions?
So typically this hasn't been used for funding salary for an individual on staff. Are you talking about bringing on someone as a staff member or someone that would just help in a short-term consultant coach capacity?
Either.
Okay, the consultant
Well-
coach capacity, yes. However, this is funds for this would not be appropriately spent on staff salary expenditures, if that makes sense. Again, because that's not kind of long-term operational effectiveness. But if you brought someone alongside to train your staff, assist your staff, that would be an appropriate expenditure. Does that help?
Thank you. Yes.
Sure. Okay. Any other questions that we can answer?
Genevieve, I've talked to some more intimately sized nonprofits in the last few weeks, and I think a question that might come up amongst some of them is, can they pool their resources and apply together for one of these capacity building grants? Like maybe to John's question earlier, if it makes sense.
I think there's a possibility there. Again, I think that'd probably be a committee determination. I think there could be another conversation on a collective impact grant request at a different point in time. But I would, if there are smaller organizations that have that idea in mind, I would say reach out with a phone call. Let's have a discussion prior to submitting an application. I would also say, as a former grant writer myself, just some little tips and tricks that I would offer for those of you. I know many of you are professionals doing this. However, I know it can be helpful to look at the application questions prior to deciding, do I even want to fill all of this out? So I have posted a PDF on the website. I'll send you the link in a follow-up email today where you can just preview all of the questions that we're going to ask. Our application is fairly short and straightforward compared to, say, a government grant application, but we'll be wanting to know things, a little narrative on your capacity building needs, description of the project plan, explanation of how the grant will enable you to more effectively fulfill your mission, explain to us if you will be using a consultant, coach, or facilitator, comment on commitment and why this is a good point in time to pursue this project. So again, if you want to see that and what attachments are required, you can easily preview that through our website. And then I would just say, cross your T's, dot your I's, have someone proofread it in your office before you submit. That's always just handy before submitting these applications. But again, if you would like to do an offline conversation or just communicate with any of us by email, we'd be happy to answer your questions, especially as you're thinking about possible projects that might be a good fit for this capacity building grant cycle. Well, we are at 1:30, and unless if there are any other questions, I think I'll go ahead and wrap things up. Thank you all for your time, for participating. We wish you the best of luck as you consider this grant cycle, and please know we're here to serve you and support you. Okay. Have a great day.